The horn's first breath, resonant, forge. The Zora-Kai's final breath across Ember's nameless world flare as runes along its brass coil pulse with stolen light. The guild did not compose these songs, they took them, from a people now dust. The hunting horn's notes do not heal. They haunt, melody through forged in fire, the Zora-Kai's final breath across Ember's nameless world. Guilds the horns do not hunting sing, horns notes do not heal, they scream. Zora-Kai lullabies woven into steel now rattle elder dragon bones. A thief's craft, melody stolen from cradle fires, repurposed to bind what should never be tamed. What price a world's silence? The Zora-Kai's final breath fuels every note their grief, a currency, no dirge, no dirge. A haunting chord struck in shadow bends the wild to the guild's will. Did they conquer dragons or inherit a debt no name can bear? The forge's breath still smolders in Chimera's ravines. Smelted iron reeked of Wyverian sweat, their hammers singing hymns to a sky about to bleed. They carved the horn not as a weapon, but a cradlate's runes etched with the last lullaby of a civilization that knew dusk was coming. Fatalis did not fall from the stars, it rose from the earth's wounded throat, and the Shrade Kingdom's towers crumbled like sandcastles beneath its shadow. The Wyverians folded their farewell into the horn's curves, a melody meant to cradle the dying, not chain the living. But the guild's hands are not cradles, they pried the horn from ash, their fingers tracing the lullaby's stolen breath. What they found was not a tool, but a debt music too heavy for any throat to bear. The Shrade's final song, now bent to buffalo and bait, twists the wild into obedience. A paradox, the guild wields a dirge as a drumbeat, turning sorrow into strategy. The horn's mouthpiece, once kissed by Wyverian lips, now spits orders. Can a melody be a monument? The guild's scholars say no. They call the runes buff mechanics, not elegies. Yet when the horn's notes ripple through Astera's plains, the grasses shiver as if remembering a language older than the guild. The wyverns, those scaled sentinels of the old world, claw at the sky when the song plays not in fear, but recognition. They hear the lullaby's true name, a requiem for a people who traded their final breath to delay the end. The horn's power is not in its metal, it is in the silence between notes, weight of a civilization's unspoken pact. The guild marches onward, blind to the debt they carry, but the wind in Chimera's ravines still hums the original tune. A song without a singer, waiting for the day the debt demands its voice back. The guild classifies the hunting horn as a Tier 3 buff broadcasting instrument. Its percussive harmonics stabilize ecosystems, amplifying forage yields by 17% within a 300-meter radius. Field reports note temporary pacification of aggressive fauna during sustained play. Yet the cadence embedded in Astera's third harmonic sharp, unresolved, bears no resemblance to guild-composed scales. This anomaly traces to the Zora-Kai, a vanished civilization whose lullabies once threaded the Caney. The guild's archives lack records of their extinction, but their melodies remain, methodically repurposed. The third harmonic, when low, suppresses the primal thrum of elder dragons. Early trials at the Elden Serpent facility achieved a 92% compliance rate in captured subjects. No ethical review exists for this work. The capture vs slay doctrine demands non-lethal subjugation, yet the Zora-Kai's stolen song bends will, not wound. It is not a tool. It is a leash. The guild instrumentalizes what it cannot understand, assuming authorship over a music older than their own. The wind in Chimera still hums the original tune, a debt unpaid, a peal unremembered. The Elden Serpent's first experiment succeeded not through science, but through silence. What cost is paid when a song's origin is erased? The answer lies in the hollows where the Zora-Kai once sang, and in the hands that play Astera's third note, blind to the weight of the thing they hold. The 5 lords of the guild did not merely wield the hunting horn, they became its echoes. First Lord Varen's campaigns left forests silent, his melodies birthing steel in the veins of his soldiers. Second Lord Elira's songs split rivers, carving canals where Zora-Kai hymns once stirred fish to dance. Third Lord Kale's notes withered CRS, his hunger for order turning fertile lands to dust. Fourth Lord Nuri's, the last to touch the horn before the Fifth Fleet, vanished in a storm of his own making, his final chord a scream the stars refused to answer. The fifth lord, their name is erased, their fate a gap in the guild's annals. The fifth fleet's explorers carried the horn into the new world, their boots crunching over Zora-Kai carvings that sang when the wind passed through. They did not hear the musically, the promise of power. They stripped the ruins, forging the horn's third note from a shaman's rib, its resonance once a bridge between Wyverians and elder dragons. Now that note summons beasts to fight, not to converse. The Wyverians, those sentient bonds of scale and soul, still remember. They coil in shadowed groves, their low cries harmonizing with the horn's stolen strains, mourning a language reduced to weaponized warble. What became of the Zora-Kai? Their cities lie submerged in brackish marshes, their totems half swallowed by mycelium. The guild's songs, so clinical in their buffs and buffs, cannot replicate the Zora-Kai's doots, the way their music made dragons kneel not in fear, but in recognition. The Fifth Fleet's journals, recovered in a monastery vault, describe a sound like the earth breathing. They took it, not understanding. Now every time the horn plays, the ground trembles with the weight of what was buried. The master hunters who follow are blind. They chase tirais, not truths. They do not hear the third note's undertone, a lament. The Zora-Kai's final warning, still vibrating in the metal. The equal dragon's collapse wasn't a failure rate, was a reckoning. Scorched valleys still hum with Zora-Kai shrieks, their music never meant to bend power but to bind it. The guild carved a horn, not a tool. They hollowed a tomb. What does a song become when its singers are ash? A curse, the horn's notes don't empower the unseal. Each blast peels back the veil where Zora-Kai shadows wait, hungry for the thief's bones. The guild's hunger for dominion began not with steel but with a melody, a lullaby sung in the dark before Zora-Kai fire faded. Astera's horn does not play it, asterisk repeats asterisk, a theft encoded in brass, a stolen hymn that bends reality. The equal dragon weapon was not a weapon. It was a desperate mimicry of this song, a failed attempt to shackle what the guild could not comprehend. When it erupted, turning sky to ash, the Zora-Kai were already gone. Their absence became the guild's obsession. Each migration event is a wound re-end. Lao-Shan lungs breath, Zora Magdaro's wrath siege is born of a cycle the guild refuses to break. They call it strategy, it is a dirge. The horn's notes do not empower, they asterisk invite asterisk. Every blast carves a door, a resonance that echoes through the void where Zora-Kai shadows pool. The Fifth Fleet sailed not to explore but to erase, their charts drawn by a stolen melody that once taught dragons to sleep. Now the song teaches them to asterisk wake asterisk. What do the guild's architects know of the hands that first shaped this tune? Of the Zora-Kai who wove it from starlight and dragonbone, the horn's power is not in its crafting but in its asterisk taking asterisk. A theft that birthed the equal dragon's madness that guides each fleet's doomed voyage. The melody is a key. The guild thinks it holds the lock, but the Zora-Kai left no locks in the echoes, and echoes do not forgive. The horn's next blast will not summon strength, it will summon asterisk accounting asterisk. The guild's hymns are not their own. They are a debt unpaid, a lullaby turned requiem waiting to claim the thief's bones. In Astera vaults, the hunting horn's stolen songs freeze preserved in clinical silence. Kamura's forge once shaped their metal, but not their music. The Forbidden Lands expedition unearthed Wyveria's ruins, where wind-carved stones hummed with the same dissonant intervals now in Astera cold. No guild composer wrote these melodies. They were lifted, transposed, repurposed for buff broadcasting. The Fifth Fleet's headquarters stands at a grave. Beneath sterile corridors, the Zora-Kai's voice thrums, unacknowledged. What did the guild steal and what did they silence? The expedition's logs describe Carvingshan's clutching horns, surrounded by spirals. Appeal's identity, reduced to audio data. The vault's chill cannot mute the echo. A requiem waits unresolved. The debt is not in gold. It is in notes, sharp and unyielding. The thief's bones will vibrate to their own theft. The horn's breath was never the guild's to steal. Zora-Kai harmonies, woven to bind beast and Wyverian in mutual trust, now bend to commands of subjugation. What was a bridge became a chain. The guild's capture or slay creed crumbled when they chose neither, when they hoarded the music itself. The Zora-Kai sang to asterisk understand asterisk the wild. The guild sings to asterisk own asterisk it. Buffs bloom not from harmony but theft, a melody plucked from empty cradles, a peal erased so their song might fuel conquest. Wyverians, once partners in that lost balance, now coil in silence, their own voices drowned by stolen notes. The ethical rot is not in the horn's metal, but in the hands that refuse to let it rest. Every buff cast is a dirge for the Zora-Kai, every capture a reenactment of the theft. The guild's soul is not in its victories, but in the echo between what was borrowed and what was never returned. The debt vibrates in every note, the requiem waits. The Forbidden Lands expedition uncovered more than artifacts in Wyveria's shattered spires. The unearthed an obsidian horn, its surface etched with Zora-Kai glyphs. When the guild forged Astera's melodies, they did not compose, they repurposed a stolen dirge. The horn's song still hums in the marrow of the world, a thief's relic burdened by centuries of unspoken grief. What did the Zora-Kai carve into their final hymns? What price does